Hello, let us discuss the case scenario which I had given you last week on antenatal case of 33 weeks and 4 days pregnancy. A primary gravida admitted with complaints of pain abdomen. On admission, her blood pressure was 120 by 70 millimeter of Hg, which is normal. On per abdomen examination, her abdomen was full of fetus and fundal height was less than period of gestation. Mild intermittent contraction of less than 10 seconds were noted. That means her abdomen was full of fetus suggestive of oligohydramnios and fundal height was less than period of gestation, which could have been because of the oligohydramnios. Another condition where fundal height is less than period of gestation is IUGR, intrauterine growth retardation. Now, most of you have not commented on mild intermittent contraction, which is suggestive of preterm pain. On per speculum examination, her os was closed and there was no discharge. Per vaginal examination again confirmed the findings of per speculum, os was closed and uneffaced. Ultrasonic examination suggested amniotic fluid index as 4 cm. This confirms our finding of per abdomen examination where fetus was full of fetus, that oligohydramnios was present. Baby biometric parameters are corresponding. It rules out the findings of intrauterine growth retardation. So this was a case of only oligohydramnios with no coexisting intrauterine growth retardation. There are some cases where IUGR and oligohydramnios they coexist, but in this case scenario there was no component of intrauterine growth retardation. Then I had asked you to discuss the case on the following headings of final diagnosis, causes of oligohydramnios, plan of management and fetal surveillance, and the plan for delivery. Let us see one by one. The final diagnosis of the case is she is an antenatal case of 33 weeks and 4 days of pregnancy with threatened preterm pregnancy having oligohydramnios. Now the causes of oligohydramnios, which most of you have correctly mentioned: placental insufficiency, which includes intrauterine growth restriction, fetal birth defects, notably kidney diseases like renal agenesis, outflow obstruction, because the most of the amniotic fluid is the source is the renal fetal urine. Then twin to twin transfusion, TRAP, that is twin reverse arterial perfusion sequence. Premature rupture of membrane is another important cause of oligohydramnios, but in this woman complains of the leaking per vaginum. But in the present case there was no leaking seen on per speculum examination. Maternal conditions like preeclampsia, diabetes mellitus, post-dated pregnancy. Some drugs like AC inhibitors, prostaglandin synthase inhibitors are the cause of oligohydramnios. Now, coming to the management part, gentle per speculum examination to rule out PROM. Vaginal swab is to be taken for culture sensitivity as bacterial vaginosis is important cause of preterm pain. If no leaking of amniotic fluid on per speculum examination, which rules out pre-ROM, then consider giving her neutrotonics like tocolytics like magnesium sulfate, nifedipine, etc. Remember that tocolytics are contraindicated if PROM is present. Another option is progesterone. Micronized progesterone can be given as vaginal pessary to decrease the uterine contractions. Then plan for the management including fetal surveillance. As the mild contractions were present and there is a risk of preterm delivery, injection betamethasone 12 milligrams intramuscular, 2 doses to be given 24 hours apart for the lung maturity as we are anticipating the preterm delivery. Then I am giving you a link to a beautiful article on pharmacological management of preterm labor and prevention of preterm birth. Please go through this article. Coming to the management of oligohydramnios, hydration therapy, it can be either oral or by IV isotonic fluids. It is the fluid overloading by giving 2 liters in 2 hours, which increases the placental perfusion. Then the drug like L-arginine, it synthesizes the nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator. Another drug, sildenafil, which is a newer drug, still under investigation, also causes vasodilatation. All these drugs, they increase the placental perfusion. Now let us see how the fetus surveillance is to be done in this case. Mother is asked to keep the daily fetal count, and if it is less, then she has to report. Then there is another term called as NST, which means non-stress test. It can be done by 2 ways. One is electronic fetal monitoring, that is cardiotocography, and another is amniotic by the sonography. So NST, if the pattern is non-reassuring, then it requires admission. Amniotic fluid index is measured by the ultrasonography, seeing the vertical pocket in the 4 quadrants over the maternal abdomen. These 2 tests are performed bi-weekly. If the amniotic fluid index is less than or equal to 3 centimeters, this indicates severe oligohydramnios and it requires planning for the delivery. Color Doppler is to be performed once in a week to see the fetal blood supply through the umbilical vessels primarily. Then I am giving another link to an article which is very good article. You all must read. It is on the NST. Now coming to the plan for delivery, close fetal surveillance is to be done and daily fetal movement counts is to be recorded by the mother, and if she perceives any time reduced fetal movement, report to the doctor. Non-stress test to be performed bi-weekly, and if it is non-reassuring, which means either the fetal heart rate is less than 110 beats per minute, which is bradycardia, fetal heart rate more than 160 beats per minute, which is tachycardia, beat to beat variability is absent, or there is absence of acceleration, that is rise in the fetal heart rate of more than 15 beats per second lasting for 15 seconds, then it is pattern is non-reassuring, which indicates fetal distress. Amniotic fluid index to be done bi-weekly by sonography by measuring the vertical pockets in the 4 quadrants of the maternal abdomen. If it is less than 3 centimeters, again it indicates plan the delivery. Fetal color Doppler by studying the umbilical artery indices, if they are abnormal, will indicate the delivery. Let us see what are the abnormal patterns which some of you have mentioned. Decreased diastolic flow is number 1. Absent diastolic flow is second, and the third one is the reversal of the diastolic flow. It is the reversal of the diastolic flow is the most ominous changes and which requires immediate delivery. Then lastly, the route of delivery can be decided by seeing the Bishop score. If the Bishop score is good, which is assessed by the pervaginal examination, one can think of vaginal delivery. But if there are signs of fetal distress and the poor Bishop score, then preferably go for the cesarean section.